What's going on, everyone? You're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to have a look at something called the Interquartile Range, or IQR for short. This is another tool to help us analyze data sets, and this one's specifically looking more in depth about the distribution of data. The maths behind it is super similar to range, so if you're on top of that, which is just subtracting, you're going to be totally fine for this lesson, I guarantee it. So the definition for the interquartile range is actually within the name. Inter kind of just means between, quartile means quarters, and the range just means top minus bottom. So because it's quarters, or 25% and 75%, the interquartile range is telling us the difference between the middle 50% of the data. So it's giving us a really good indication about what's making up the middle of a data set. So we can use this to see, hey, are there any trends or anything in the data that we can see immediately based on how these scores are distributed. So in order to do this, we've got to find the quartiles. We know how to find the range, but we've got to find what's called Q1, or the first quartile, which is at 25% of the data, and then Q3, which is at 75%, or the third quartile. Once we've got those two things, we're all good. So the best thing about this maths is that we already know how to find the median. We're looking for the halfway point, or the middle number. Because quarters are just halves of halves, all we've got to do is do this again after we've split the data into two halves, a top half and a bottom half. Then you can just use the exact same skills to then make those halves quarters. So if you have a look at this data set, the first thing we've got to do is actually just find the median, which is pretty easy. One thing that I do want you to pay attention to is how I'm actually crossing them off. I like to just do one cross, and you'll see why in a second. So if I get rid of the top, the bottom like normal, I end up just having 14 in the middle as my median. And I'm going to put a line through this. Now, I'm actually going to get rid of this on my page, but in your mind, I just want you to put your thumb over this kind of number every single time you do it. Because now you can pretty easily see, oh, I've got a bottom half and a top half. Now, I've got three numbers on this side, three numbers on the other side. I just have to do the median steps again, but in each of my new data sets. So for that bottom one, I'm crossing off the 7 and the 14, and that leaves me with 12 as my first quartile, and that's the Q1 score. And then I do the exact same thing on the top side. Hopefully you can see there why I'm doing that one stroke, because then I can cross it off the second time. Because I've got to go back over my data and do it twice, I just like to have a nice little system in place so I don't accidentally count something that I haven't crossed off when I should have. So now, because I know how to find the range between the quartiles, Q3, the top number, minus Q1, the bottom number, all I've got to do is 18 minus 12, which is equal to 6, and we're done. So the maths behind this is literally no new skills. We are doing the median, but twice, and then we're finding the range, but with these two quartile numbers instead of the two extremes. So for this example, it's a little bit different because we've got an even number of scores. So this means when we find that median, something a bit weird happens. We can't just cover the one number and get rid of it to create two equal data sets. So this time we're going to do the exact same thing, crossing off the top and the bottom every single time till we get to the middle, and the median's in between the 5 and 6, so it's 5.5. But this time, because there's no middle number, I've actually already got two data sets that are even. I've got 4 on this side and 4 on this side. So this time I'm not getting rid of those numbers. I'm not getting rid of these ones because that 5 is actually on the lower side. So I can't just get rid of it because I feel like it. It's still part of my data set in that quartile between Q1 and the median. But because of this, I just have to do the exact same thing again. I'm crossing out the top, the bottom of this lower half, and in between 3 and 4 is going to be 3.5, and that's my Q1. Exact same thing on the other side, cross out the top and the bottom. I'm in between the 8 and the 9, so my Q3 is 8.5, done. Now I just have to find the interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1, 8.5 minus 3.5 is equal to 5. So this lesson is super easy. We're going to have a look at how this interquartile range can help us with a bit more analysis in the next lesson. But if you're on top of this, I guarantee you're going to get a few marks in this data unit. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.